Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker associate Mari Takeshita of Cherry Creek Properties LLC based out of Denver, Colorado. Mari has been a realtor in the Denver metro since March 1992. As a broker associate with Cherry Creek Properties, she works with sellers and buyers. Her previous sales, finance, and marketing experience, coupled with the love of what she does, has been the key to her success. She has been featured on the cover of Top Agent magazine, featured on CNTV, and she's also their only realtor sponsor. On 9news.com, she's been featured on Comcast Spotlight, featured on The Final Word, AM 1340. She's a Zillow Trulia Premier Agent, named in 5280 magazine, and awarded for top sales and achievements throughout her career. So with all that, Mari, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So excellent, Mari. I guess if we could start, if you could kind of tell our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew that you wanted to do, or did you kind of just stumble into it?
Well, I've been in sales since I was 19 years old, and I wanted to sell homes because of the challenge and the income potential. The big plus is that I get to meet and work with the entire family, and because of the time spent during the process, my clients become my friends.
Excellent. I think it's always great, I guess, if you can meld, where your job is something you really enjoy, or your career, and then you get to meet new people on top of it. And I think, buying a house is one of those great experiences where you get to be a part of that. You get to kind of help make that happen. So I think that's great, a great connection, a way to meet people.
It is.
So kind of moving forward a little bit, what personal attributes or traits or qualities do you think have most contributed to the success you've had, and how do you think you developed those?
Well, I think most important is my determination. And this is not an easy business to build. The failure rate is 97.6%, just like any other small business. So when I set a goal, I really work hard to achieve it. And I think I learned that from my mother. My mom, when she took on a project, she never gave up, and she learned to do whatever she was doing well. And I think growing up with that kind of a mentor and watching my mom do everything that she did really helped me to become just like her. I think another thing would probably be a sense of urgency. Time is not our friend in real estate. Everything has to be done now, and I've always functioned that way. Projects have to be completed ahead of time, and I like creating systems, so things can be efficient. And I think the other thing is that I think out of the box. I like to be creative, and I look for solutions when there seem to be none. It's important to me with work with my clients that, I give them as many avenues and options as possible. And I have a lot of my realtor friends who call me and go, okay, I've got this problem, how do I do something with this? And I try to help them out too.
Excellent. And do you think maybe you could give our listeners an example or specific examples of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Well, I think there's a time in every agent's career that quitting sounds like the thing to do. But to survive within the first 3 years in this business, it really takes a lot of intestinal fortitude. And those first few years, I worked, probably 18 to 22 hours a day, and sometimes 24 hours, and go right back in and work again. Luckily, at that time when I started, I was younger, and my body could handle doing that. I don't advise that to anybody. But it certainly helped me get over the curve of learning quicker. So I think, being very engaged with everything that one is doing is really important. And that to me is, I think, where it may not be an exact example, but that's, how I think I've gone through this.
Excellent. I think you kind of touched on a little bit of this, but I guess if we could maybe look at, what were some of the major adversities or trials that you had to overcome to kind of get where you have and to be able to achieve your goals?
Oh, well, the first big one was I had just moved to Denver in 1991, and I didn't know anybody. And so working in a relationship business, I had a lot of catching up to do in Denver, so I had to start with strangers. The second thing is I didn't have a lot of money. And so because of that, I had to do all the traditional, door knocking, open houses, and I worked with show-by owners. And I door knocked the same 12,000 homes for the first 3 years that I was in business. And I'd start at the top of the subdivision. When I finished, I'd go back up to the top again and start all over again. And, whether it was hot or it was snowing, I went about 3 to 4 days a week. And so that's how, I pretty much started. Luckily, though, I did hire an assistant within the first 6 months, and so I didn't have to go through a lot of the struggles that a lot of agents do when they're trying to grow their business.
Well, that speaks a lot. We've heard a lot of stories from different people on our shows, especially people in sales, which obviously, like you said, real estate being a big sales industry, of door-to-door people. It seems like the people that have a lot of success have at some point in their life, at many different things, whether it be real estate or vacuum cleaners, they've gone door to door, and I think it really builds that initial, I guess, almost that thick skin, right? Because you're going to get no's. You just got to, keep getting through all the no's till the yes. It's going to come. It's statistically there. You just got to, all right, get another one. Okay, I'm that much closer to a yes. So that's pretty impressive that you actually, just kept just doing that. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, I think that, boy, I'll tell you, it does build a lot of character. And to tell you the truth, it isn't the fact that you go and knock at the door. It's the fact that you have to get out of the office every morning to go and do that. I think that's the biggest thing. It's kind of strange. You can't seem to get out the door to go door knock, but if you had to go out and get a cup of coffee, you just race out the door. And that's what you have to fight, is fighting internally those kinds of, feelings and thoughts.
Absolutely. So kind of on top of that, what kept you going? Obviously there's obstacles, like you said, you just moved out there. You're going door to door knocking. It couldn't really be that much fun. I mean, maybe you met some nice people. People are probably more apt to either slamming the door or telling you no. Why didn't you give up? What kept you moving forward?
Well, actually, on the door knocking part of it, it was actually just quite the opposite. I don't know if it's because I live in Denver, Colorado, and everyone here is just the sweetest, nicest people in the world, but the problem wasn't getting the door on your face. I think that only happened one time. The rest of the time, they want to sit and talk to you, and so you have to be able to get away from the folks that you're speaking with because they're never going to sell, or they're just lonely and want someone to speak to. But knowing how difficult the industry is, I took it on as a challenge, and I told myself that if I could do this and become successful, I could do anything, and failure was not an option. And even though I've been in sales for quite a while, by the time I got into real estate, this was different because this isn't just about selling, it's about creating a business. And the first 3 years were most difficult for me. But on my first year in the business, I was in for 9 months, and I sold 14 homes. My second year, I sold 50. My third year, I sold 100. And my top year was just a little bit over 200 transactions. And I do less now. I between 50 to 75, and I'm pretty happy.
Excellent. And kind of, I guess, looking forward maybe a little bit, what do you see your vision for your career, say, over the next 5 years?
Well, I'm 60 right now, and I don't plan to retire when I'm 65, and so I'm implementing more systems for doing more sales, and I also do quite a few fix and flips. And I'm having fun, and I'm enjoying the experience and participating in the market and the community. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing right now.
Excellent. I think one thing to point out there to our listeners, I think one thing you said that's key, and it sounds like it's helped really, attribute a lot of your success is systems. You've mentioned it a few times, and you said even when you got started, one of the best things you could do is get that assistant in place so you could then have a system where they could help you do something and you could focus on, obviously building the business. So I think that's key to point out to everybody that no matter what line of business you're in, to have a system in place, a procedure, and to be able to where you could pass that off and have somebody else execute that system while you're then doing something else. That I think that probably is what's helped you be able to expand the way you have and to continue to grow.
Yes, I agree. That's really been the one pivoting point that whenever I've talked to other agents and they're saying, oh, I can't get past a certain amount of transactions, or the amount of work that they do, time away from the family. I think that's really the hardest thing for me to almost talk people into doing. Do yourself a favor, hire an assistant, and they won't do it. They're afraid to have to give up the money and feel that they can't, that someone else wouldn't do it as well as they would.
Yep. I mean, it even like Marco Simonis, who's on the Profit and owns, I think Outdoor World. I mean, he's people, process, and product. And it's process that a lot of businesses seem to falter on because they don't have even a standard process. So it's great that you implemented that and then you realize that, okay, now I need somebody else to execute this piece of it and I'm going to go focus on, the higher end and continue to build. We've seen a lot of people. There's actually a friend of mine, and he does it, and I've talked to him numerous times. He likes to design websites for people. So what he'll do is he'll go out and do all his marketing, and he'll get a customer, and then he goes and locks himself in his office, and he works on the project for the next 3 weeks to a month. But then when he comes out the door, he's back at zero again because now nobody's continued to market. So now he's got to go back and reset the wheel and generate more activity, sell another job. And I've told them time and time again, I'm like, hey, you could put something in place on the front and let, if that's what you really want to do is design the stuff on the back. But I think it's great what you've done and you put that into place.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing that I've learned prior to getting into the real estate industry. So if you're a friend, I don't know if I can do any good or not, but have him give me a call and I'll try to talk him into it too.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. He's a tech kind of guy, and he really likes doing it. And I said, that's great, but put somebody on the front piece then, so that way you kind of finish that up. Then you have one waiting. You can just move into it if you really want to do the back end work. So, but I guess kind of also on top of that, looking forward, what do you feel the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional for continual growth?
Well, I market myself in many different ways, and I'm always looking for new innovations, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And you mentioned quite a few at the beginning that I'm already doing. But, I also market myself by establishing myself with my clients. So I'm kind of like their walking, talking brochure, and that goes a long way. I know that when I talk to people and they go, oh, I've never heard that before. No agent's ever told me that before. I realize that what I do, which sounds like such common sense, is still very unique. And I also have a marketing assistant who I've been blessed with, and Karen is young and creative, and she's put that extra little edge into my marketing materials and exposure that's actually gone to another level because of her. And she's also going to be involved in the fix and flips and the investing side of my business too.
Excellent. I think too on the other side, there's a lot of misconception when it comes to real estate agents. I think some people, and you even alluded to it in the beginning, which you gave us that statistic. 97% of people fail, and I think that's a general business. But I think in real estate too that I think people seems it's so easy to get involved. They just go out, you do a little bit of education, you pass a test to the state, you get your license, and I guess people think they're instantly going to be just rich or something. I guess it seems like there's, yeah. But I also think that on the other side that people think that the value of an agent. Why do I really? I'll just put a sign in front. I can sell my house. I have the internet. No big deal. But what do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with real estate agents is?
I don't think the consumer knows to reach out to a realtor as quickly as they should. And I have clients who I speak to the first time about selling or buying a home up to a year in advance. And I think that gives the seller an advantage of knowing what they should do to prepare their home or themselves to sell, or if it's a buyer, what their needs are in regards to repairing credit or paying off high debt. And I educate my clients about the process and the ups and downs in the market, and it's the best thing that I can do for them so that they really become savvy buyers and sellers. And I think that's the misconception. It's like, I'm not ready to buy yet, so I'm not going to try to reach out to anybody. And they should right away, because a good realtor is going to work with them and take them in a process of learning prior to even purchasing a home or selling a home.
Yeah, that's great advice. Kind of, it seems like in this day and age, everybody's about instant gratification. Oh, I want to buy a house, I'm going to go out and do it, right? But like you said, a lot of it, there's so many things involved that it's probably a better idea to maybe, like you said, maybe if you're thinking 6 months, a year down the road, reach out to a realtor and get that advice on, like you said, maybe you could pay something down, maybe you could get your credit score up, which would obviously in turn maybe get a better mortgage rate for yourself. So it sounds like to reach out and just get that counsel and utilize the professional experience that a realtor would bring to the table.
I think there are, unfortunately, a lot of agents who have that, like you said, that quick satisfaction, and not only consumers but also the realtors. And so if they get brushed off, then it's not the right agent to be working with. So maybe the sign would be call ahead of time, call 1 year in advance, and if they don't keep up with you, that wasn't the agent to work with anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of go with a hypothetical situation here. Let's say you get a call from a family member in another state. You're obviously, not licensed. You're licensed out in Colorado. So let's say they're in another state and they want to sell their home. They're ready to move. Maybe they want to come out near you. Maybe they want to go where it's warmer. What advice would you give them? How would you counsel them on selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Kind of how you take care of your clients. How would you recommend they go about finding somebody?
Well, I highly recommend interview several realtors because they are all different. Look at the marketing that they do. Talk to the past clients. Those people will give you more information than you want, good or bad, and you're going to hear it all. So when my friends do call me and say I'm going to be buying a home or selling a home in whatever areas, I actually go out and I find and interview those realtors for them. I do all the work and all the research, and then I say, okay, I found 2 or 3 agents for you. Why don't you go ahead and speak with them, and then they decide who they ultimately want to work with. But I do that as an extension of my service to my clients.
Excellent. Now, if somebody needs a real estate agent in your area, Denver, Colorado area, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Well, they can just call me or text me at 303-941-6274. And as I mentioned, I am the walking, talking brochure. But they can also go onto a website, www.realtormari.com. And we're in the production of a new site, which probably should be ready in about another month or so.
Well, excellent. So I just want to take time for, to thank you for coming on the show here today, to be able to share your business experience and your success with all of our listeners here today. And if anybody's listening and you want to find out more about Mari, you can visit her site, as she said. We'll also put a link below this interview for you, and we'll put her phone number as well. So that way, if you want to reach out to her, you text her, call her, or you'll be able to click the link and go to her site. So with that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.